Hello! Today we're going to be talking about the one, the only, Daisy Jones and the Six. You know this book, the one that your friend has been recommending to you, but you just don't want to watch, read, listen to. Yeah, I haven't socialized in like 5 days, so yeah. And I've got bananas and peanut butter, because bananas and peanut butter are the best thing ever. Also, if you hear sounds, that's the road. I'm outside because I haven't been outside in like 5 days, like a gremlin, because I'm self-isolating. Woo! Daisy Jones and the Six, right? It's a book, and everyone's saying it's great. And I was like, is it great though? Because some reviews are like, this book is crap. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll give it a go. So I did. I got peanut butter on my book. So, Daisy Jones and the Six is about a fictional rock band from the 70s, and it talks about how they started out, how the titular character, Daisy Jones, got her start in music and how her life was super problematic. And she did what most rock stars in the 70s did. They did drugs, they had sex, they drank booze, and they wrote songs about all of that stuff. Then we've got other characters. We've got Billy, who is the head of this band, and he kind of has this band under dictatorship, so he basically gets to make all the decisions in the band, which basically causes the downfall of the band eventually, along with Daisy Jones being problematic and Billy Dunn also being problematic. And then you've got the character of Camilla, or Camila, I don't know. She isn't part of the band, but she's Billy's wife. They're all kind of like close together or whatever, but there was some cheating involved in the beginning, and it's a whole mess, you know? It sounds like your typical rock band that has lots and lots of problems and is problematic and whatnot. I would recommend this to music lovers, rock band lovers, lovers of Florence and the Machine, because I got major Florence and the Machine vibes. No one can convince me that this isn't Florence and the Machine, except, you know, Florence is much more graceful and beautiful than Daisy. She's my wife. So the curious thing is that I actually read the physical book, and most people listen to the audiobook. Now, I figure that most people listen to the audiobook because it sounds like a podcast. If you haven't listened to a fictional podcast, they're really amazing. They're like stories, but in your mind, because they're like sounds and stuff. Like this. I didn't want to listen to the audiobook. Audible is super expensive. Like, why would I want to get Audible just for one audiobook, you know? What I did find was that I actually really enjoyed this format. And when I listened to samples of the audiobook and extras of the audiobook, I found that I actually hated the audiobook and I hated how it sounded. I think this is because I really like podcasts. So I listen to lots of podcasts, and with podcasts, you're acting. Your job is to be acting. You're an actor, you know? Welcome to Night Vale, Dream Boy, Alice Isn't Dead, you know, all those kinds of things. They put love and passion into their voice, and then I listened to samples of the audiobook, and they just sounded like they were reading. Like it was another person reading an audiobook, and it was the most boring thing ever, because I'm supposed to be reading an interview, listening to an interview, and they just don't sound like they're alive. It wasn't as good as I hoped it was. I wanted it to be like one of those books that changes your life forever, and you're like, wow, this book is so good, I have to read it every now and then. But it wasn't that good. It was like kind of okay. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I'm not really into bands, which is probably why this worked for me, because I had never read or watched an interview of a band. And people who had done that thought it was just like any other band and thought it was pretty boring. Given that I'm not that type of person, it was really innovative and a different idea, and it was really different to any sort of book I'd read before. The problem was, this book was basically tell not show, because they're all giving their descriptions, you know? They're talking about the band. There's a problem here. Because this band is supposed to be famous. They're supposed to be like the Beatles, like Queen. You know, they're supposed to be rock stars of the 60s and 70s and 80s. No. 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 These people didn't feel famous. They felt like people that I talked to on the street. They felt completely reachable. They didn't feel untouchable. You know, the way that Harry Styles feels untouchable. Like, he doesn't even feel like a real person. Even though you logically know he's real, he feels unreachable. Same with Selena Gomez or Taylor Swift. They just feel unreachable because they're famous, you know? You don't feel like you could be walking next to them on the street, but these people, they just felt like any other ordinary person. And if that was the intention of the author, well then great, she did it. She humanized them. But in order to humanize someone, you have to dehumanize them first. What are you humanizing them from? The whole point of making celebrity documentaries is so that they're humanized, so you can see that Taylor Swift is completely normal. But this book didn't do that, because it didn't show me that they were famous before. I mean, it told me in numbers and in interviews, and they were on famous talk shows and stuff, but it didn't show me. They didn't feel famous. They just felt like a band you'd see at the corner of your store or something. I don't know. And that was the main problem. Because how am I supposed to believe any sort of this stuff, suspend my disbelief, if I don't feel like they're famous? The thing is, they kept telling me Daisy Jones has this amazing energy. She's like someone you'd want to be around with all the time. I didn't get that feeling. I didn't feel like there was wisdom pouring out of her mouth. She didn't feel otherworldly. She just felt human. And like, where is this so-called great characteristic that they're talking about? I don't understand. The next thing that bothered me was the way some characters were written. Eddie, that guy was just a douchebag. Or was that Warren? I don't remember. One of them was kind of like problematic, and I get it, but like also I don't get it. Billy was awful. Like that first tour, he was like, yeah, gonna stay loyal to my wife or whatever. And then he did the exact opposite of it. The way Daisy was written, just, she had so many flaws and there was nothing to like about her. That is what bothered me. She's supposed to be this otherworldly character that makes everyone turn their heads when she passes around. But like, I didn't get that from her. They pointed out all her flaws and they didn't bother showing any of the cool side of her. We get it. Broken family, broken childhood, great voice, which we can't hear, and is described in a way you can't really understand. What else does she have going for her? She felt a little bit like a manic pixie dream girl, except she was flawed, which I guess defeats the purpose of a manic pixie dream girl. But she was supposed to be this otherworldly person, yet here I am sitting and I'm like, what is Daisy Jones besides flawed? And then at the end, you get this redemption arc where she's like, yeah, right, so I adopted 2 boys, and then I set up my foundation and everything. And it's like, yeah, where was this passion before this? And if this was your journey towards this passion, what passions did you have before that? And you had to say music, because music isn't a personality trait. Graham got on my nerves at the end a little bit, but like, whatever. I like Karen a lot though. I really like Karen. I thought she was the most sane out of all of them. The chillest. She was definitely the best character. The Italian prince, whatever. We didn't know enough about him. Like, is it just me or did he literally come out of nowhere and go out of nowhere and then he was just never mentioned again? Besides that, it was a pretty good book. I can't give it a 3. I can't give it any more than like a 4. Like exactly a 4. Maybe a 4.1. I like that you could see all the character flaws. They were out in the open. Like, you could see every single character flaw. I like the story. I thought the story was really great. I had never read a story like this before. I had never read the story of a rock band, and I'd also never actually read a Wikipedia page on a rock band except Queen. I thought that the interview style format was actually really, oh my god, there's peanut butter in there. It was actually really great because I'd never gotten that before. I like that there were more people other than just the band people. Daisy's best friend, Simone. Wish we'd gotten a little bit more of Simone because I wanted to know more about Simone outside of her life with Daisy. Like, I know this book was basically about Daisy and Billy and the band, but I wish I had gotten to know more about Simone because I think she's just such a great character and she makes lots of good points about loving someone and that love not being able to heal someone. But also what I didn't like was that I didn't really feel a climax in this book. You know, books usually go like woohoo and then they come down, but this didn't really feel like that. It kind of just felt like it kept going up and then it kind of just went like, yeah, you know what, we're gonna stay at that mountain unresolved forever. And I guess, yeah, that's life. But also, like, I kept waiting for that boom, that revelation, tension. At one point I thought Billy was going to cheat on Camilla with Daisy, and that seemed like the way the book was gonna go, but in reality it didn't go that way. Like, Billy didn't really have a journey. He kind of just went like, I need to be there for my girls, and he was at the same place that he began in the first place. Daisy had that journey. Daisy was like, you know what, Camilla told me that she doesn't want me, I'm gonna leave. So then she left. So that was great because she had like some sort of resolution. Simone, well, she was just there as the supporting cast for Daisy, which, you know, we want more Simone because she's amazing. There was a plot twist. The plot twist that this book is written by the daughter of Billy. It hit me like a freight train. I was super surprised. I was like, whoa, what? And then when the author started talking, I was like, whoa, what? I wish we had gotten more of this like before, because I feel like coming from the perspective of the daughter of Billy, this would have given us a lot of insight as to like what happened after the band broke up and the whole after effect and everything. Hi, sorry, before the sun sets and the birds stop singing, I forgot to add this into my original review rant. This gave me major Chronicle of a Death Foretold vibes. And the reason why I'm saying this is because that book, even though it's also historical fiction, it's vastly different. It's way vastly different. The reason why I got same vibes from it was because the book Chronicle of a Death Foretold is also told from different points of views, and it's told to piece together one long narrative. But of course, different people remember things different ways, and they all have their own story to tell, and that's why like the timeline is always never going to be fully accurate, and that's why it reminded me of Daisy Jones and the Six. And that's something that I actually particularly really liked, because I thought it was really interesting to see and make a point about how memory is really different and how everyone has their own memories and versions of things, and you can never really trust memory because it's such a fleeting thing and it always changes, especially back in the 70s when they didn't have like phones and cameras to take pictures of things or things to even record. I mean, you can see this in the part where Daisy takes a mascara brush and writes a song on the back of a napkin because she doesn't have anything to write on. And nowadays you just have your phone, but she didn't back then because it was the 70s. And I really liked that the whole narrative was told in different perspectives from different people. And yeah, that was a pro. That's something that I actually liked. That was my review and my quick little rant about Daisy Jones and the Six. Tell me what you thought about it if you read it and now you're looking for someone to like praise it or bash it, because that's what I do. Yeah, leave me a comment down below on what else I should read, your favorite historical fiction novel or anything like that, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Oh my god, I think I just saw a lizard. There was a lizard. Is that a lizard or a rock? I can't tell.